Hi, good morning, and welcome back. It's Mr. Cantelou in the morning with any help questions that you need for your assignment today. As you can see, Professor Shire is here to help us out if you have any questions. So, any questions about the assignment we did, or about not the assignment, about our lesson from this morning? Now it's time to ask them. Good morning, Sam. How are you, buddy? This is Shire, Professor Shire. She's here to make sure you're doing your work. See that? Looking at you. You a pit bull? What's his name? Its name is, and it is after you. Oh, his name is Nike. Very cool. All right, guys. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the lesson this morning? All right. Now that I can move again, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints concerning this morning's lesson? Now is the time to air those. Oh, gosh. Any questions, guys? Comments or concerns? Hello, Hannah. How are you? I thought you had a meeting at 9. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. What are your questions? You always ask good questions. I'm excited. Ask away, Hannah. Ask away. Didn't believe in dynastic tendencies. They really didn't look at, hey, this guy's the king, so his son should be the king. I mean, it was a thought, but really they believed that the king should be chosen instead of just being in the same family. They didn't see that there was any point. No family was better than any other family, and so even though your dad may be the king, it doesn't mean you need to be the king. They didn't see a point to it. And I like that. I like the idea that the Romans decided that it's better to elect somebody to be a leader than to not have a say in who becomes a leader, because you can get some really bad leaders. We look back at Egypt. I mean, they had some terrible leaders just because they were raised by or they were the son of the king. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be a good king, right? And that's pretty evident. So they really did themselves a good service by not having heirs. One did. One was, and I had a mistype. That would be Tarquinius Superbus. His dad was the only one. He was the only one to become a king after his parent. Okay, he was. Well, there's two of them. There's two of them. Sorry, there's two of them. Tarquin is one. Tarquin Superbus, or Tarquin the Proud is one. The other one, Numa picked his successor, but Numa's son wasn't the one he picked. He actually picked a servant, Tullius Hostilius, actually lived in Numa's family. No, sorry, not Tullius. And the crooked arm, Ancius Marcius, he's actually related to Numa. Okay, that's the only other one. Is Numa picks him kind of as a son. They did, and the Greeks they had kings. The Greeks did have kings originally. They got rid of kings later on. Remember, the Greeks are started much earlier than Rome, and so they have time to play with becoming a democracy, whereas the Romans, um, all they know is to start with a monarchy. That's how they started their government, and it's only 7 kings. So there's no telling how many kings Athens had before they became a democracy. Rome only had 7. Now, Rome's going to change back to a totalitarian government when they become an empire, but they realize that it's kind of important to let people have a say in what happens. Romulus is really the one that really establishes that. What else you got? Any other questions, Hannah? Oh, the guys aren't necessarily virtuous. It's their wives are virtuous. That's what they were arguing about, was whose wife was more virtuous. Not necessarily um, not necessarily the man, because they assumed all men were good and virtuous. It was whose wife was virtuous. Remember, the Romans, like the Greeks, um, they don't start out well respecting women's rights, and so um, while being a man means you're somewhat virtuous, being a woman meant you had to be special to be virtuous, or that women had to be virtuous, and if they weren't, they're bad women. And so that's why they decided to spy on them. And also, it's a stupid game, but it's a game that led to the change from a monarchy to a democracy. But it also gets a lot of people killed. That makes sense. Yeah, it's not a great story. I mean, it's quite a sad ending, and it should never have happened. But we do get to see that Tarquinius is removed and Rome does become an empire. And really, the people rallied around Lucretia, or the thought of Lucretia after her death. I mean, it's what all women wanted to be like, was they wanted to be virtuous like Lucretia. Um, the name Lucretia is going to be used a lot for Roman women. She becomes idolized. She becomes the standard of what a good woman should be. And that's someone full of honor and integrity and virtue. Um, and so we'll see that a lot more often when we talk about women in Rome, is it's that standard that they have to be virtuous and honorable and have that integrity and that passion and love for Rome and their husband as well. They tied it on his head somehow, or the way it was described was like it was like a wooden platform. What I'm thinking is like a large wooden frame that's already hard to stand, and then as they added more weight on top of it, it made it impossible to hold it up. And so I guess it was like deep enough water where he couldn't stand on his own, and then with the added weight, he couldn't float up. That's what I'm thinking it was. There's no real good drawings of it, and it really, I think, it's the only time that form of execution was used. It really wasn't used that often. Not that they didn't drown a bunch of people that did definitely do that, but um, you know. He was afraid of being assassinated, not necessarily afraid of death, afraid of being assassinated. That region really did kind of think that if you had an elaborate tomb and that would help in the afterlife. That kind of goes away, though. The Greeks didn't really believe that. And once Greek religion really starts to influence the Etruscans and the Latins and the Sabines, The Romans really kind of get rid of all of that, and they just really focus on living a good life and traveling across the river Styx. And so the really that's what they changed to after a while. So for a little bit they were concerned with life, and I think that's where we see with Romulus. He wouldn't have been a practitioner of the Greek religion that much. He would have known about it, but he really probably wasn't a big practitioner of it growing up as a Latin. But he's not like Quincy Hongdi, who was absolutely insane, right? He didn't eat any mercury or anything like that. All right, good. It's all done there. Assign it. I want you guys to allow edits, and I want to show after you submit. So, olive oil bathing had actually been a pretty common practice in both Greece and Italy. It really was a way for them to clean themselves. The best way to do it. I mean, they didn't really know about soap yet. That does get invented eventually, but the idea was just if you cover your body in that thick material and scrape it off, it's going to bring off dirt. And actually, studies have shown that it is quite effective at cleaning you. It also makes you smell better, which was something that living in the ancient world, everybody smelled, didn't have deodorant yet. So you got to think it's probably pretty gross. Um, so the introduction of olive oil definitely helped. It just meant everyone smelled like olive oil all the time. Hey, Valeria, how are you? Good. Yeah, I think it was kind of a cultural thing. I think it spread, Hannah, on that question. I think it mostly spread around the area. Uh, the Greeks definitely did it, but the Romans really, really did it. All right. Well, hey, Hannah, loved all the questions. They're really good. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Val, what's going on? Good morning, Mr. Coward. How are you, sir? Oh man, I was smoked last night, so I got off early. I was tired, man, so I didn't get on. I'll be on tonight though. Planning on doing some dutying. Gotta get those snipers leveled up. How many questions on your formative today, Val? There are 4 questions on the formative today. and they're all extremely tough. Well, today we learned about the seven kings of Rome and the fall of the monarchy and the rise of the Roman Republic. So, a really important lesson on early Rome that's going to lead us to the Roman Republic, which is arguably one of the coolest things you can learn about in the ancient world. All right. Two of my favorite things. Well, I really liked the Civil War when Julius Caesar gets killed, and after that, Mark Antony and Octavian going at it. I think that's pretty awesome. Oh yeah, I figured. I tried it before. It is a recipe for disaster, but I've seen some people be absolutely legendary with them. I had a guy that killed me so much with a crossbow, especially the exploding one. It was devastating. Yeah, I mean Rome. I mean, honestly, the Republic, while it wasn't as democratic as it could have been, they made a lot of reforms for the common people, especially. And we talked about one today, the Serbian reforms allowing the plebes to vote. That's a big moment in Roman history. They let landless people vote, which is something that took our country a little bit to figure out as well. You know, we look at the only landowning men as being allowed to vote in the original draft of the Constitution. So, um, it's nice to see that we weren't the only ones to have that issue, and the Greeks too. Yeah, it really did. I mean, it took us a little bit of time for sure. I mean, and even then, it's an important point. I mean, when you go back and you read works by writers at the time, they're still like, well, is this the right thing to do or not? You see that in the French Revolution too. Tocqueville really talks about it. He's concerned that we were considering it. Not that Tocqueville was any great. He was really proud about democracy, but it wasn't like he was some great proponent of everybody being able to vote. He really didn't like our system all that much. If you really read his stuff, kind of was a weird dude. All right, guys. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints. Looking for all of your questions today. Hannah asked some great questions. Anybody else got some? Karen, I'm going to need you to show me some more stuff to do on Go Formative. There's got to be an easier way to check grades than having to go block by block by block, one at a time. It's got to be more streamlined. Hi, Carly. How are you? Good. Dude, half screen the other half on my grade book. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, and it just I tried to export it, and the way it exports it is just so dumb. Yeah, I wish there was a way where you could just export it all by the student's name and everything they made on the grade book. It would make it so much easier. I also wish it would let me know when when it was done. You know, when someone updated it. That would be just too convenient. When a student goes in there to fix their grade, it should tell me that they've done it, and I can go in there and do something. Huh. Oh, it just seems like a hassle. You have to log in 116 times. Um, it grades for me, Val, but it doesn't tell me when you've gone in there and done something. But I have to. That's why I check every Friday, is because I don't know if, say, you went in there and you're like, well, I got a 2 out of 3 on that one. I want to get a 3 out of 3. It doesn't tell me when you've done that, so I have to go in there and compare each and every single grade against what I have in my grade book. Um, and it's kind of just a hassle for us to move around in it. So it's not a great system for that. All right, ask those questions away, Jordan. Oh, I like that. That does sound pretty smart. Miss Wiedemann did like a channel for students to go in and tell her when they finish something, pick something. The best book I've read has been the Crimean War. It was written by a British officer following the war, talking about how it wasn't actually a blunder, how the British actually were pretty successful in the situation they were in. Now there was some mistakes, such of course the Charge of Light Brigade, the famous poem by Lord Tennyson. It really, really got messed up pretty bad, but it is quite a really good masterpiece on the Crimean War, and it something I really didn't know much about, so I really enjoyed reading that. And then, if you could be any animal for one day, what would you be and why? Oh, I'd have to be an orca, and I'd want to go slap around some seals. They're just they're so cool, Watch them flip those seals up with their tails. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Val, what about you? What's the best TV show or movie or book that you've read while on break? And if you could be an animal, what would it be? Yeah, man, you just hit them with your tail. You just throw them in the air. That's pretty funny. It's not funny for the seal. Hi, Madison. How are you today? If I could go to a country right now, what would it be? Oh man, I'd probably go. It's a great question. I really want to go to Zimbabwe and go down the river there. There's an awesome whitewater rafting thing. Mr. Furco did it. He told me it was incredible. But I'd probably go to New Zealand. Right now, I'd go to New Zealand. I really want to see New Zealand. Ireland's pretty cool too. Ireland, Scotland, the British Isles, those are always cool to me too. There's a lot of cool countries I want to get to. Maybe one day. Hey Jordan, how are you? When I was in Leslie Hills, were how they caught orcas killing a great white over the underwater microphones. The shark had a tag, and all of a sudden, the depths were way too deep. Yeah, I've heard about that. They do go after those great white sharks really, really crazily, man. And I've heard about them just dragging them deep underwater. How was your day? My day's going pretty well. My day's going pretty well. It's been a good day. Glad to have everybody in here. Loving these questions, guys. Any questions about what we did today? Also, the assignment is now up. All four questions of it. Make sure you go do that formative. It's a good one. I really enjoyed writing it, and I hope you guys enjoy taking it. What I think happened in that is, when I was just looking at that, is I put the singular when it's the plural. So I went back and I added the plural as a correct answer as well. So it should be fixed now. So I think most of you are answering in the plural of the second word of the day, and I put the singular as the answer. So I went back and I fixed that so you guys are able to get that. How mad are you that I have Damascus? Oh, I'm pretty mad. I'm pretty mad. It's frustrating for sure. It's for sure frustrating. And now that I have to snipe, even more frustrating. It's not my strong suit whatsoever. But I got everything unlocked on RPGs and javelins, so now I just got to get them. Oh, all right. Damascus is this really cool thing in Call of Duty, but it's also a type of metal where you bend it over multiple times, and when you do that, the metal actually changes color a little bit, so you see greens and blues and reds in it, and it has a really cool pattern in it um, that makes swords and spears and knives really pretty. Shire said hello. She's looking at y'all. Tell them to do their work, Shire. Nope. Now she's looking at the fan. Ow. It's my head. Oh, that would be wrong. I'd be wrong because it's not just Monday night. Ow. That would be wrong. Don't put Mr. Cantelou is or Mr. Coward is better than Mr. Cantelou because it's not true. Mr. Cantelou crushed it. Well done, Jordan. Well done. Oh man. All right, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. I will be back on from 1 to 2. I will see all of you then. 1v1 me, noob? All right, anytime. Anytime, coward. Anytime. Got that quick turnaround and that knife to the chest. We'll live stream it. We'll make sure all of you can see it. I'll figure out how to live stream it. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. I'll be a nuisance. All right, I'll see y'all later. Bye.